welcome to a new video, and today we are traveling with a ferry again. Today we are taking the Superspeed one of Color Line and we're traveling from Hirtshals in Denmark to Kristiansand in Norway. And here you can see our route today on the map. And as I'm not sleeping on this ferry, this will be a combined video of a ship tour and the cruise itself. So we start in the morning in Hirtshals, where I arrived this morning with the Stavanger Fjord ferry from Fjordline. And originally I planned to take another ferry to Kristiansand and only take the Superspeed one on my way back. But the first ferry got cancelled, and so I decided to take Superspeed one on both ways, as it was the only other possibility how to get to Kristiansand and back in one a day. And here you can see my ferry arriving. The Superspeed 1 was built in 2008 and is 211 meters long, 25.8 meters wide, and has a tonnage of 34,231, and she can take up to 2,325 passengers, and she's a very fast ferry, hence her name, as she can sail with up to 31 knots maximum speed, and she has a surface speed of 27 knots, which makes her just slightly slower than the catamaran Fjord Faster of Fjordline, the other ferry on this route. But Superspeed 1 is a classic single hull ferry, so she is slightly slower, but still she's very fast for a ship with just one single hull. And now it's time to step aboard. Through this long gangway we reach the ship, and we will start with a ship tour. And we board the ship at the atrium that you can see here. It's reaching over 2 decks. On the lower deck we have a small seating area. And here we have the deli. The deli is a shop where you can buy mostly food products like frozen meat and other local products. Then we have a game room where you can play some arcade games. And right at the front of the ship, there we have a big duty-free store, the tax-free market. And this has a typical offer of perfumes, alcohol, cigarettes, clothing, souvenirs, jewelry, and yeah, basically everything that you can get on most tax-free stores and airports and on ferries. And here we have the so-called first street, which is the seating area where you can sit comfortably if you don't want to go into one of the restaurants. Now we're heading further to the back of the ship, and there we have one big lounge that is reaching over 2 decks. Firstly, we come to the lounge area with its own bar, and here you can already see the typical design of the ship, which for me was like a combination of a very modern style and a few influences from the 70s, just like these chairs, which reminded me a lot of the style of the 70s. And now we get back to the front of the ship, and here we have some lockers on the side. So if you have some luggage with you that you don't want to look after for the whole crossing, you can just leave it here in the lockers. And then a few meters further we have a small casino. Of course, it's a rather small casino, but it is just a day ferry, so this ferry is not operating any routes where you sleep on the ship. It's mostly operating the ferry route Hirtshals-Kristiansand, which is taking slightly more than 3 hours. And now we can go up 1 deck and we reach the next main passenger deck. And here we are at the back of the ship again, and here we now have the second deck of the big lounge that I showed you. Here we also have the open area where we can look down to the other deck. And now we access the Bluefin's lounge. Bluefin's is actually a lounge and a restaurant, also on 2 decks. But Unfortunately, it was completely closed during my visit. So here you can see it with the big picture windows, perfect view, but it's only open in the main season. I was traveling in late summer, early autumn, and there the demand was very low, so the ship was not quite full, which was most probably also the reason that my originally planned ferry got cancelled, and that's why this area was closed during my visit. So let's go back to the front and take a look at the other public areas on this deck. Here we have the second street. As you can see, it looks quite similar to the first street, just that it is one deck above, hence it's called second street, first street on the lower deck and second street on the upper deck. And now we are heading back to the atrium, the second deck of the atrium. But before we reach this place, we turn left, because here we have a VIP area and some more lockers. This VIP area or VIP lounge is called business class, just like in a plane. And it comes with its own small lounge where you have free drinks like coffee and soft drinks and some small snacks, and a comfortable seating area which is a little bit darker, and I will show it to you later on. And now we're in the atrium. Here you can find the typical fast restaurant that you will find on most ferries. So here you can get some food in a self-service style. So if you're hungry and you come on board, this is the place to go. Here you will get your food very, very fast. Especially if you just want to have a small bite and not a full menu, then this is the perfect place. If you're more hungry, then go to the Catch Me If You Can, which is the main restaurant on board. It's a buffet restaurant, and you can purchase the access to the restaurant, and then all food and drinks are included in the price. And here you can sit a bit more comfortably and relaxed, and you have a very nice view over the bow of the ship if you're lucky with your table. How this is working, I will explain to you also later on in the video. But first, let's take a look at the outdoor areas of the ship. Here we have two main sun decks, both with some seating. The upper deck has a little bit less seating than the lower deck, and on both decks we have a small promenade on the side. Let's go down to the lower promenade, which is actually rather spacious, stretching over almost the full length of the ship. So here you have a lot of outdoor areas. When the weather is nice, you can enjoy the crossing also outdoors. And at the back of the ship there's a big outdoor area with seating, and here it is also a bit windproofed as it is at the back of the ship. So there's a little bit less wind, and here we have more seating available, and it's right behind the Bluefin's lounge. So here on the right side you see the big windows. These are the windows of the Bluefin's lounge. And now we jump to the business class lounge, the VIP lounge. Here you can see those amazing and comfortable seats. They come with reading lamps, they are adjustable, they are padded very nicely, and they even have tables. At the ticket office, she told me that they are not suitable for laptops, but I have a very big laptop and still it was working, not perfectly, but it is even possible to work with your laptop here. Also, it's a rather dark area, so it's very nice to sleep there, and you have the complimentary drinks, so you need to pay an additional 29 euros if you want to access the business class. So if you're thirsty and you drink a few coffees and soft drinks and you want to sit comfortably, then this lounge can be good value for money. And meanwhile, we arrived in Norway again, in Kristiansand. And arriving in Kristiansand is always very nice, so make sure to be on the outdoor decks, as the arrival is really beautiful due to the amazing landscape of Norway, of course. And soon before you reach the city, you will pass a beautiful island called Odderøya. And if you have some time in the city, then I would recommend visiting this island. If you like nature, it's the closest place to the city where you can hike and enjoy beautiful nature. It was my destination of the day, but as my first ferry got cancelled and I was taking the Superspeed one both ways. There was no time to visit, so I will do it next time, of course. And we were not alone in port today. The Voyager of the Seas cruise ship of Royal Caribbean was here as well. And in my opinion, this is a very beautiful cruise ship. It is a big and modern ship, but it still has the outlines of a real ship. Unlike the newest ships who are barely looking like ships anymore, this ship still at least looks like a ship, so I hope to be on it one day. And then of course I will make a video about it for you as well. And now we are docking here in Kristiansand, and as I said, my first ferry got cancelled, so the only option I had to go to Kristiansand and back in one day was to take the same ferry on both ways, which actually means I took the exact same ferry on the same sailing. So I had to leave the ship in Kristiansand, but as soon as I arrived in the terminal I have to recheck in and go back on board. I was not allowed to stay on board, that's probably due to customs and safety regulations, but I was taking the exact same ferry back. But as I said, it was the only possibility to at least take one of my two booked ferries. And this time I reserved a table at the Catch Me If You Can restaurant, and here there's one major downside, because you will get assigned to a table. If you show your reservation, there will be a small bond, and on this bond automatically there will be your table number, and you have to stick with this table. I kindly asked the crew if they have another table available, but there was no possibility, so I needed to stay on my table, and unfortunately I got one of the worst tables on the ship, as there was the main walkway from the main entrance to the buffet and the seating area on the left side and the wall on the right side, so there was absolutely nothing to see. Here you can see the view from my table with my camera on full zoom, so yeah, there was absolutely nothing to see. And this would have been the view if you would have been assigned a table at the window in the front of the ship, so if you're lucky, it can be very nice to stay at the Catch Me If You Can, but it can also happen that you will have no window inside. And here you can see the Fjord Faster, the catamaran from Fjordline, which is also operating on the route from Kristiansand to Hirtshals, but only in the summer months, and most probably due to low demand. On the day I was traveling, there was only one sailing instead of two, so the sailing you just saw was the one that I got rebooked on, but I was on my originally booked way back, so the way there and way back would have been at the same time, which is obviously impossible, and so the only option was to take the same ferry on both ways. But to get back to the Catch Me If You Can, the only option I can think of how to get a window table is to kindly ask as soon as you arrive in the restaurant and show your reservation. Maybe there's a chance if you ask there if you can get a window table that they can change it for you, but I'm not sure if this is possible, but at least you could try and ask. But for this you need to be fast, because as soon as she scans your reservation, the table will be assigned automatically. But the food is amazing. You saw the buffet, it's huge and the quality is very good. It's way better than you would expect it from a ferry, and it has a huge variety of all kinds of food, and the drinks are included, and it's quite cheap. You only pay 25 euros, so it's very good value for money, and you can keep your reserved table for the whole crossing. Even though I got unlucky with the table, I still highly recommend reserving a seat at the Catch Me If You Can restaurant on the Superspeed one. And meanwhile, we arrived back in Hirtshals. Also, the Stavanger Fjord was here again. She returned from her trip to Langesund. And the color line terminal is on the other side of the port than the fjord line terminal, so this time we are way closer to the city. And there's even a long gangway from the ship almost directly to the train station, so you can reach train station walking, completely weather and windproofed. So the color line terminal is located far more conveniently than the fjord line terminal. And so for me it was just a short walk back to my hotel, the Skaga hotel, where I will stay overnight. And from here in Hirtshals we will start our next video, which will be a train video again. So if you're into train videos, you can look forward to the next video. Here you can see when this video will be uploaded, and you can see the name of the music. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider to like, comment, subscribe or share a video link, and I hope to see you in the next video.